We meet back in the kitchen again. Thank you so much for joining me. We're going to be making enfrijoladas today. Now, I think the best description of an enfrijolada is to call it like an enchilada, but with a black bean sauce. And they're super popular, well, in many places in Mexico, but really popular in Oaxaca. And I'm going to show you the style that I love to eat there. My version is inspired by what you get in the market stall called La Abuelita that has been there for over a century. Of course, the Abuelita is long gone now and it's still run by the same family. And they do the really classic Oaxaca style. I'll step you through all of that. But if you're going to make a black bean sauce, of course, we got to start with the black beans. And in this recipe, the one that accompanies this video, I've given you 3 ways to cook the black beans. Unfortunately, you can't use canned ones here because it's really all about the broth that you create. So I've given you the directions how to do it traditionally on the stove top, in a slow cooker, which produces amazing results, but also in the electric pressure cooker like an Instant Pot. And in fact, that's actually what I have been using today. And I'll step you through the way that you do that. So it's the shortest way and it produces really good results. But of course, we got to talk about what's in my pot already. So I've laid out the ingredients here. Of course, we'll start with black beans here. Now, not all black beans are created equal. And to make the best black bean sauce, you want to choose little black beans, the smallest ones you can find that have the blackest look to them. And I give you in the directions the average amount of time that it takes to cook, but just know this, that older black beans will take longer to cook than really freshly harvested dried black beans. Now, in that Instant Pot also is one of the classic Oaxacan flavorings, that is the avocado leaf. Now, it's available in lots of Mexican grocery stores, so a lot of you will be able to lay your hands on this, but if you don't find it, don't worry about it. Just omit it from the recipe. Typically, in the Oaxacan kitchen, they will heat a dry skillet or a comal and then just toast them for a few seconds on each side. They'll release an aroma, and that aroma will smell a little bit like anise, which is the flavor that it will give to the classic Oaxacan black beans. Now, I like to add a little smokiness to it. So I'm using a little canned chipotle, 1 or 2 of those, depending on how spicy you like it. And then I've got 6 cloves of garlic that you just cut them in half and throw them in there. And in all of that long cooking, they will pretty much just disintegrate. So all of that goes into the pot, whether it's a pot on the stove, the slow cooker, or the Instant Pot, with 6 cups of water, and you cook until everything is completely tender. Remember, we're going for a really rich black broth here. So it's time to go back here and work on what we've got here in the Instant Pot. So I cook these for about an hour, and then I let them sort of naturally release the steam for about 15 minutes, and then moved the pressure release valve to completely release them, and then we'll uncover this. It's still going to be steamy hot. Now, it smells really good. Well, I love the smell of cooking beans. I grew up with that, and it's not the Oaxacan black bean tradition, but another tradition, and I just think that is one of the most comforting smells in the world. I'm going to pull the pot out of here and drain them into a bowl here. You can see the beautiful avocado leaves there. Now, we're not going to use very many of these beans, and these beans will make really wonderful fried beans. I've got lots of recipes for that around. Very simple thing to do. So you kind of kill 2 birds with 1 stone. I'm going to take 3/4 of a cup of these beans out, and that's a measured amount. So you really do want to measure it because these are going to help thicken this sauce. But as I said, it's really all about the broth itself. So I'm going to set these beans off to the side here and take all of our broth and pour it in here. Now, because we're looking for all this beautiful broth, I will tell you that if you're going to cook on stovetop, which is the most common way to do it, make sure that you have a very, very gentle simmer, hardly any movement in the water, and you put a top on your pot, but set it slightly askewed so it doesn't sort of bubble over, and make sure that you check the water level regularly, because we want to come out with our 6 cups of water basically at the end of all of this. So water is really important to maintain that right level. Okay, now it's time for us to go over and blend it. All right, I think I misled you. I said that we want the full 6 cups. Well, the 6 cups of water goes in, but once the beans have absorbed it and you've got the cooking finished, you'll have about 4 cups of the water plus the 3/4 cup of the cooked beans that we're going to put in here. Now, a very important thing to keep in mind is when you're blending hot substances, that you want to make sure to take this piece out of the center of the top. I lay a towel on top of it like that, and then we're just going to puree these. We want to get it as smooth as we possibly can. That's looking just right, and we're going to put it into a medium-sized saucepan and simmer it briskly, and you have to watch this because it could stick on the bottom because of the starchiness of the beans, but we will simmer this briskly until it's reduced to about 2.5 cups and looks like the consistency of a cream soup. That'll take roughly about 30 minutes. Just take a look at how velvety this sauce has become. I've got it sort of over a lower heat now because it's just about ready. I'm going to season it. It usually takes right at a teaspoon of salt, but once I add that, of course, I want to go back and taste it. Remember, it's going to go on corn tortillas, and they don't have any salt in them at all. So you want to, what I would call, fully season this sauce. It seems like it's just exactly where we want it. Now let's talk about all the toppings that go on. Now these are toppings because enfrijoladas are typically not filled with anything. It's just a tortilla dipped in this sauce, a little more sauce on the top. I love it in the way that they do it in Oaxaca with chorizo here. So I'm going to scrape out some chorizo into this hot skillet. I've got it about over medium heat here. And I'm going to let that cook while we prepare the tortillas. This will take about 10 minutes or so to cook as we let it brown, render its fat, and then brown. The smell of it is just absolutely wonderful. Now let's talk about the tortillas for this. Typically, they will be yesterday's tortillas, meaning stale tortillas, meaning cold tortillas that are quick fried in order to soften them and also to protect them from just absorbing the sauce completely really fast. I think that makes them kind of heavy. And so my approach to doing sort of the same thing or achieving the same thing is to take my tortillas and brush them very lightly with oil. Now I will start with doing it on both sides of the first one, and then I'll use the one underneath to be my second application or my other side application of the oil. Just press it down like that until I get all of these lightly brushed with vegetable oil. If you have an oil mister or a spray oil applicator, you could use that for this. I slide them into a sort of heavy plastic bag, but don't seal it because my next step is to utilize the microwave to do all of that cooking, essentially searing that oil into the tortillas, and I'm going to do 1 minute on full power. I'm seeing some nice browning going on here. I broke up all the clumps as it was cooking, and it looks like it's done well. This didn't have very much fat in it at all, but I'm going to still put it onto a paper towel to drain. And then we're ready to assemble the beautiful enfrijoladas. Just going to bring this over here. We've got several different toppings to go with them here. Of course, the chorizo that we just did, some sliced onion, parsley leaves. That may surprise you. You might think that all of Mexico is just about cilantro, but in Oaxaca, they love this flat leaf parsley. I have a fresh cheese here. It is not queso fresco, which would be most common in Mexico, but it is fresh goat cheese, which I just love on this dish. So you could go queso fresco or another fresh cheese. And then I have some roasted tomatillo salsa, the way that you would find it in Oaxaca. Let me show you how you make these guys here. I'm going to use a pair of tongs to take the tortillas one by one, because remember, they're going to be hot in here. Slide them out of the bag and onto your work surface. But remember, they are hot. And then we're going to dip them one by one into this sauce so that we get a nice coating on both sides of them. I'm going to do this fairly close in here to the plates that I've got stacked up here to make. Just dip them like that, and then lay them on the plate and fold them over. Now, of course, more of that sauce is going to go on top of them. Consistency, I am underscoring here, is like a light cream soup. That's what we're looking for. And these black beans that I have make such a gorgeous dark broth. You can't soak the beans before you do this, because throwing away the soaking liquid will get rid of all the color. So you have to really make these in Mexican style, which is to make sure to cook them straight from scratch, not soaked. Chorizo on the top of it. And then I'm going to strew on some of these beautiful onions. If you want to make them taste the lightest and freshest, make sure you rinse them under cold water after you slice them. So pretty. And then next is going to go the splash of the green salsa and a little bit of the fresh goat cheese. Now you could buy goat cheese crumbles for this. This one is a little moist, so I'm crumbling it with my fingers. And then we have our parsley leaves on top of it. Classic Oaxacan enfrijoladas. A real soul-satisfying dish. I hope you enjoy making this. I hope you enjoy making this part of your regular repertoire, because it deserves a place.